Rebecca, how has your go-to-market motion changed in the last year? The composition of the team, playbooks that you're using, is it different than what we were seeing 3, 5 years ago, or even different than you're seeing 3 months ago?
I think ours has changed in a couple material ways. As we've gotten more sophisticated, our product has gotten more sophisticated, and our buyer has too. I think all of that has required a much deeper motion than we were used to maybe a year ago, even 6 months ago. So we've built out an exceptional solutions consulting team to pair with our salespeople to provide that product knowledge, domain depth, really customized solutions that are highly fit for purpose for that individual customer and all of their quirks, so that we can support edge cases and be really good partners to them, making sure that the AI works for their use cases, but also all of the integrations and workflows that need to be possible such that the AI can do its thing. That has created more complexity, and part of that's going up market, but part of that is also about meeting the moment where the market is asking us to come with product expertise and domain expertise and really consult on where their systems and their processes should go.
We're gonna go down the line here. So the question is, how would you describe your pricing model today? The second question is, how many times has it changed in the last year? Raul, I'll start with you.
We've historically been classic SaaS, classic subscription per seat, typically annual, sometimes multi-year. And I think we all recognize that that's changing. And so it's less, in my mind, about how many times it's changed in the last year and more how many times it's changed in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So stay tuned.
Take us into that.
This is both a moment of first principles thinking in each of our sectors and application areas for how do you price and package. And there's a little bit of the pattern matching or reasoning by analogy with where we've seen usage or consumption-based models, coding obviously being one, cloud services being another. Startups that take those models wholesale into sectors like invoicing, billing, or finance, or legal, or what have you, are very unlikely to be successful, or at a minimum are very unlikely to be the leading firms in their segment. So there's a bit of R&D, quote unquote, that's a commercial R&D, not just engineering R&D.
Fred, how the hell do you price what you sell today?
There's a lot of bespoke work, so everything kind of gets a bespoke price tag depending on what it is. We sell software, we sell infrastructure, we sell hosted evals. Traditional software typically is driving what we're doing. We have data that's part of all this as well. We have infrastructure for anyone who wants to run evals or reinforcement learning training runs. They can do it with us. If you're running, evals and you want to run everything through Fleet, we'll sell you the tokens. We can do usage-based pricing as well. So we have a bit of everything. I think that we'll have to come back to this conversation as we continue to scale this up. It's an interesting point in time where we are trying to make sure we have a very nicely structured playbook for everything. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're very easy and reliable for all of our customers to work with and that we have a quick answer for everything. So that's one of the things that we were working on in San Francisco.
But just to stay with you for a second, we used to nerd out about how SaaS companies would price in the enterprise versus mid-market when you were covering cybersecurity back in the day. This is a completely different world.
We have dozens and dozens and dozens of different types of simulation environments we built. Each of them today carries pretty standardized price. It's a software-based sale. I think the difference from what I've seen is it's not like a SaaS sale where we're able to go through and say, this is 3 different SKUs and we're going to have some value metric price. We tend to be a bit more outcome oriented. And that's how we're beginning to think about it at this point of if you're able to see some sort of major gain in your model, we'll be able to figure out the value that is associated with that.
Rebecca, what's your pricing model today? How many times has it changed in the last year?
I don't know if we're on V3, V4, a lot of Vs. I think in that, we're trying to accomplish a couple of things. One is predictability for finance leaders who hate anything that's not predictable. So I think we are trying to speak the language of our buyer. I think we are trying to accomplish that at the same time, making sure that the key places where there is either deep complexity or where we are driving deep value, that we are finding the right way to commercialize for the right customers. So that might be, in certain cases, driven by integration complexity, custom builds, unique workflows, or other really complex parts of the platform. So I believe we are really the best solution for anyone who is doing revenue recognition to 606 based on usage commitments. And so we are really trying to find always the right pricing models to accommodate what I think is really best-in-class software in our space. And then beyond that, I think trying to figure out how we commercialize our forward deployed motion.
I think something that I heard from all 3 people was that You're trying to do right by your customer and meet them where they want to transact. You brought up the finance persona. You brought up the people running these large language models. You're dealing with investment bankers. You have to crawl, walk, run, and package it in a way that they're used to and what they're willing to pay. I want to dig into the finance function. Maybe I'll start with you, Fred. What does the finance and accounting function look like today? And how many people is it?
Should be more people. It's been a bit of me, a bit of another one of my colleagues with a background in finance, and a whole lot of QuickBooks, Excel, Stripe, and everything that you use to run a small business. But I'd argue, I think we've graduated above that, and we're in the midst of upgrading everything. For payroll, we just transitioned from Gusto to Sequoia, checked out Rippling and others. I think I can keep going from there, but it's a small business stack still at this point.
If you need a deal on cash to collections, go to tabs.com/CJ for 20% off. Raul, what does the team look like today?
It's basically 4 of us that touch the function in an active way, albeit, heavily leveraging outsourcing and kind of third-party support. We have a head of strategic finance where we are hiring for strategic finance leads if there are profiles out there or in network. We have a controller, which is a tough one to get. I can share lots of PTSD about that process for those who are interested. We have a modern software stack, AI-first software stack, Tabs prominently in that. I think what we're finding is, while the outsourcing is always a bit, checker, hit or miss, even in SaaS era, in the AI era, it's even more difficult to do it with high fidelity. So there's a kind of gradual insourcing process underway.
The record for largest company in terms of revenue still on QuickBooks. Fitbit made it through $300 million in revenue, still on QuickBooks. I met another finance leader. They made it through $75 million in ARR before moving off a fractional firm. I thought those were interesting factoids. I don't know if anybody has an opinion on this. How far do you think you can take it with a fractional outsource accounting team?
I was alluding to this, and I guess maybe I won't say the firm so as to not land-base them. In our experience, the outsourced firms, to handle the complexity, even in the commercial models we were just talking about here, maybe not quite at Fleet's level in terms of the range of the menu, but if you think about now with more usage-based models, that transition, but some customers still on legacy per seat, then you have these like forward deployed elements, SKU proliferation. It's very challenging for any outsourced vendor to handle that in an enterprise context where the, tolerance for error is not particularly high. If I can wave my wand and have basically all of it be insourced tomorrow, I would.
We're all beholden to our book of SKUs. Rebecca, what does the finance and accounting team look like today?
Team of 1. Part of that is by setting up the right system stack early that makes that possible. We have customers on the QuickBooks revenue front that blow that out of the water, north of $500 million in revenue. It's not really about QuickBooks. It's what you're doing in your subledgers that you can then dump into QuickBooks and make that a brain in the way that an ERP is effectively a database. Really powerful workflow automation around it makes that possible. So we see companies in our network who either go all in on fractional and outsourced support to make those systems run, or vice versa, very early on, trying to do as much as possible with teams of 1 and 2.
Today's episode is brought to you by Anrock, the sales tax platform behind companies like Anthropic, Notion, and Vanta. Here's a fun way to totally ruin a Tuesday. Open a letter from a state you've never set foot in, telling you that you owe back taxes you didn't know existed. Happened to me, because the rules never stop moving. States are now racing to tax AI, digital ads, streaming, really anything new, and they're doing it faster than a spreadsheet can keep up. Anrock handles all of it. One platform that watches your exposure everywhere, automates compliance, and flags risk before it turns into that nasty gram. That's why thousands of finance leaders trust Anrock to stay ahead. Talk to an Anrock sales tax expert for a personalized exposure estimate at anrock.com/RTN. That is ANROK.com/RTN.